Trapped in a lavish but sinister castle, a voice cuts through his days, informing him that his heat has begun, and his only path to survival is to beg for his life. He had tried to escape once before, only to be captured again by his own brother, who cruelly reminded him he had no choice but to be marked. The memory of that torment fades as he confronts his new captor, a mysterious werewolf who looms over him. Caught between the memory of his tormenting brother and this new alpha, Zayn faces an impossible choice. 10 years ago, the werewolf clans tore each other apart, forcing the moon god to issue a peace code that forbade them from attacking one another. But that peace is fragile and secret killings continue, a truth Zayn now faces firsthand as a guard lies dead nearby. He realizes his pursuer is impossibly strong, an unmatched force whispering that he cannot escape. Back in the present, Zayn finds himself chained and suspended in a grand hall, his body aching. He demands to be freed, accusing his captor of murdering Hutton and violating the peace treaty, but the man merely scoffs. His captor, Sal Christopher of the Izumi Wolf Pack, coolly informs him that if he kills Zayn, no one will ever know. The alpha's pheromones are overwhelming, but Zayn fights their influence, snarling that his captor can dream on. Suddenly, a golden mark on Zayn's neck begins to glow, stunning Sal. As another man enters the room, Zayn glares at his own bloodied hands, recognizing the mark of the X-Roman 2 experiment. Sal's eyes widen in shock, wondering if this is the child who killed his father years ago. Enraged, Sal lunges, demanding to know if Zayn was in Tal 10 years ago. Zayn, gasping for air, insists he's never left Brute City and that Sal has the wrong person. Sal, however, promises to find the truth one way or another, relishing the scent of a virgin and preparing to enjoy himself thoroughly. Zayn's body betrays him under the alpha's power, overwhelmed and out of control as memories of his past flood his mind. His mother's last wish for him to live happily, and his father's violent rage. Sal recoils, recognizing Gangro's forbidden mental technique, a power so potent it sealed Zayn's memories. Realizing his captive's identity is far more complex than he imagined, Sal decides to play the long game. Feigning unconsciousness, Zayn waits for the perfect moment, and once Sal leaves, he shatters his chains with practiced ease, a skill learned from years of wandering with his father. He leaps from the castle balcony, his werewolf abilities allowing him to land safely in the forest below. His goal is simple: find the guards and escape this nightmare. He recognizes the forest as the place where he and Hutton were attacked. Hope surges as he hears the voice of Secretary Karis. He calls out, and Karis appears with his men, a wave of relief washing over Zayn as he recounts being attacked. But that relief shatters into horrified disbelief when Karis orders his men to arrest Zayn, accusing him and his father, Prince John, of conspiring to kill Hutton. Dragged away, Zayn screams that Karis is lying, his pleas ignored. Karis coldly advises him to confess or face a fate worse than death. Zayn spits defiance, declaring he'd rather die than be coerced, a vow that only amuses Karis, who prepares to punish his insolence. Just as Karis moves to strike a fatal blow, a new voice stops him. Reist Albert, a close relative of the clan leader, steps out of the shadows, reminding Karis that since the leader hasn't divorced Prince John, Zayn is still the young master. Karis scoffs, but Reist reveals an order from the leader herself. Zayn is to be guarded by Reist. Reist warns Karis to watch his actions, revealing a silver dagger and threatening that next time, it will aim for his heart. Karis retreats seething as Reist turns his attention to Zayn. The scene dissolves into a memory from 10 years prior, as a young Reist reports his excellent progress in hunting and fighting to his aunt, the leader Avril. Avril announces her intention to mate with John, introducing his son, Zayn. She tells Zayn not to be afraid, that she will be his new mother, and then introduces her own favored relative, Reist, instructing him to be Zayn's older brother. Young Zayn innocently extends his hand, but Reist violently slaps it away, snarling that he has no desire to be his brother. The memory is filled with pain, and back in the present, Reist's voice echoes his past obsession. He confesses that the moment he first saw Zayn, he knew they were mates designated by the moon goddess. With a crazed look in his eyes, he declares that Zayn can only be defiled by him. Zayn is stunned as Reist lunges, sinking his teeth into his neck to mark him. The pain is excruciating and Zayn's world fades to black. Reist, panicked, sees the bite mark vanish and screams for the butler to call a doctor. A doctor named Jurs delivers a grim diagnosis to Zayn's brother. After being permanently marked, Zayn was forcibly injected with another alpha's pheromones, plunging him into a disordered coma. Though a stabilizer has removed the immediate threat to his life, he is too weak for the mark removal surgery. Enraged, the brother grabs Jurs by the collar, declaring he doesn't want excuses and that removing the mark is an order, not a request. Terrified, Jurs quickly agrees to prepare for the surgery. As the brother storms out, he issues a final, chilling threat: if a word of this leaks, Jurs is a dead man. Alone, Jurs trembles for a moment before a sly smile spreads across his face. He peels away his own face, revealing it to be nothing but a hyperrealistic mask. The imposter, a man with long, dark hair, approaches the bed where Zayn lies, still marked with scratches on his neck, whispering that it's time for the little liar to wake up. In an instant, Zayn's eyes flash open as he presses a dagger to the stranger's throat, demanding to know who he is and what he wants. The man, unfazed, simply smirks, his plan unfolding perfectly, telling Zayn that all of this is for him. Zayn tells him to stop pretending, but a sudden wave of heat washes over him, his body betraying him as he realizes he can smell the man's overpowering scent. His strength falters and the stranger easily disarms him, his touch intoxicating. He taunts Zayn, asking if he truly wants him to let go before savagely biting his neck, whispering for him to scream so his dear brother can hear, a threat that keeps Zayn silent in agony and fear. This, the man thinks, is the perfect moment. At the peak of his heat, he can finally probe Zayn's memories. In a whirlwind of fractured images, Zayn sees his father, John, promising to give him a new home and protect him from an unseen threat. The memory dissolves, leaving Zayn kneeling alone in a white void, crying out for his lost father. When he wakes, the man introduces himself as Sal and reveals the truth he's gleaned from Zayn's mind. His father is John, the leader of the Gangrel clan, the very man who injured Sal and took Zayn. Sal offers a tempting deal. Come with him and he'll help find clues about John, but he must decide quickly before his brother returns. Zayn's mind races. He knows he can't trust this man, but it's his only lead. In a burst of defiance, he grabs his dagger again, shouting that both Sal and his brother Reister are jackals. He lunges, but an invisible force field stops his blade cold as a crest glows on his arm, a voice declaring that his mate is Sal Christopher. Zayn is stunned. He was always told Reister was his mate. He refuses to accept this twist of fate, trying to stab Sal again, but Sal catches the blade with his bare hands, amused at the attempt to kill a destined mate. Sal claims he was chosen by the moon god, and Zayn is destined to submit, but Zayn roars his defiance, proclaiming that he, Zayn Esha, will never accept a mate designated by a god, even if it makes him a rogue werewolf. Just then, Reister begins pounding on the door, screaming for jurors to open up. Sal presents Zayn with an impossible choice, him or the insane brother at the door. Trapped between two monsters, Zayn freezes in despair. Sal smirks, revealing there was never a choice at all as he knocks Zayn unconscious. Reister bursts in to find Sal holding Zayn's limp body. Sal mockingly introduces himself as Zayn's true mate before leaping from the balcony, carrying Zayn away into the night. Reister is left screaming in impotent fury, vowing that the kidnapper will not get away with this. A few days later, in a secluded cabin, Zayn demands Sal honor his promise to find his father. Sal coolly advises patience, reminding him that Reister is still hunting them. Desperate to escape, Zayn insists on leaving, but Sal's face darkens, angered by the rejection from his mate. Overcome with rage and frustration, Zayn shoves him away and plunges a dagger deep into Sal's chest. At that exact moment, a man with red hair appears in the doorway, announcing he's found them. The newcomer, Buddy Mountbatten, reveals he's a bounty hunter sent after Zayn, who is now a wanted criminal accused of murdering a deputy captain alongside his father. It's a setup. The leader of a Fuhrer has publicly terminated her alliance with John and issued a wanted notice for them both. Zayn cries out that they were framed, but Buddy ignores him, preparing to finish off the injured Sal. A wave of guilt washes over Zayn. If not for his attack, Sal could have defended himself. Refusing to be indebted to his captor, Zayn makes a split-second decision and stabs the bounty hunter. The strike is accurate but weak. As Buddy turns on him, Sal grabs a fallen staff and impales the bounty hunter from behind. With no time to waste, Zayn urges Sal to escape through the forest towards his home, secretly planning to ditch him once he's safe. Their destination, however, is a grand castle where an army greets Sal as their leader. Zayn is shocked to learn Sal is the leader of the Tizimi wolves. Believing Sal now has the power to help him, he agrees to stay, but Sal insists Zayn must first take responsibility for injuring him. When Sal's secretary Samuel rushes to tend to his leader's wound, Sal coldly pushes him away, declaring that the one who caused the injury must be the one to treat it. Later, as Zayn cleans the wound, Sal presses him for information about his past. Zayn recalls wandering with his father before joining the Lesson Wolf clan, but the memories are hazy, and trying to focus causes a sharp pain in his head. He collapses and Sal catches him, seizing the opportunity to invade his mind once more. As he bites down, he sees a memory of a young Zayn asking his father, John, if his weakness comes from his human mother. John urgently covers his son's mouth, warning him that no one must ever discover his mother's identity before promising to protect him. The memory fades and Sal holds the unconscious Zayn, a dark realization dawning on him. Zayn is a half-blood with sealed memories, a secret undoubtedly tied to his father's disappearance. Zayn jolts awake from a nightmare, the name of his father a desperate whisper on his lips. But it's not his father who greets him, it's a calm, white-haired man asking if he was scared. Ignoring the question, Zayn's only thought is of one person, immediately asking where Sal is. The man, Samuel, teases him for wanting to see the master so soon after waking, but Zayn bristles, insisting there's nothing between them and he only needs Sal's help to find his father. Samuel smiles, informing him that the master has gone to visit a friend, but left orders for them to take good care of him. Eager to leave, Zayn declares he's feeling better and wants to go too. But as he reaches for the door, he's blocked by two guards crossing their spears. They inform him that without Lord Sal's permission, he's not allowed to go anywhere. Zayn's hope turns to fury as he realizes he's under house arrest. Screaming that he doesn't need this kind of protection, he has to find his father, and a sliver of doubt enters his mind. Is Sal really helping him at all? Elsewhere, Samuel meets with Oliver, the deputy leader of the gangrel wolf tribe, who smirks and asks how it feels to see the boss's new favorite. Samuel coolly denies that Lord Sal and Zayn have that kind of relationship, certain their leader has other plans. Oliver's gaze drifts towards Zayn's room, a predatory gleam in his eye as he notes what a stunningly beautiful omega he is, one to be enjoyed thoroughly. Later, as Zayn rests, a shadowy figure enters his room. He wakes with a start to find the stranger, Oliver, holding him down. Oliver introduces himself and offers a proposition. Follow him, and he'll treat Zayn better than Sal ever could. Zayn scoffs, telling him to keep dreaming. He's not interested in either of them. The rejection enrages Oliver, who snarls that Zayn is nothing but an ungrateful bed partner Sal picked up. Zayn's sharp tongue retorts that it's no wonder he's only a deputy leader, a comment that makes Oliver see red. He leans in, promising to test if Zayn's mouth is as tough as he is. Panic grips Zayn as he realizes the sheer physical power difference between an omega and an alpha. But just as his defiance crumbles into fear, a sword slices through the air. Sal has returned, his voice dripping with ice as he demands to know who gave Oliver permission to touch his mate. He sends Oliver crashing to the floor and presses a boot to his chest, declaring that Zayn is a gift from the moon goddess. With Oliver neutralized, Sal pulls a shaken Zayn into his arms, demanding the deputy apologize before he flees in terror. Sal gently asks if he's okay, but Zayn shoves him away, his fear now replaced with bitter accusation. He blames Sal for the entire ordeal, yelling that none of this would have happened if Sal had just helped him find his father. Sal explains that the situation is complex. With men like Oliver watching, he had to keep Zayn hidden to protect his secret of being a fugitive. As Zayn's wolf ears begin to itch and threaten to appear, Sal pushes him onto the bed, telling him to rest. Then, to Zayn's horror, Sal begins to undress, calmly stating they'll be sleeping together. Zayn's protests are loud but utterly ignored. Later, alone and stewing, Zayn resolves to escape on his own. His chance arrives when Samuel enters to apply medicine to his wounds. The secretary apologizes for his earlier teasing, admitting his attempt to protect Zayn by implying he was important to Sal had backfired spectacularly. Seeing his opening, Zayn lays it on thick, speaking of his fear and his missing father, a performance of pitiful sorrow. It works. Guilt-ridden, Samuel promises to help him escape. When Sal returns, he finds Zayn sulking by the window. He explains the commotion outside is preparation for the Saldan festival. Zayn feigns excitement, then dejection, lamenting that as an outsider he couldn't possibly join. Amused by the act, Sal grabs his hand, telling him of course he can come because he's his partner. Zayn is secretly ecstatic. This is the perfect opportunity to flee. At the vibrant festival, Sal invites him to dance. Zayn clumsily admits he doesn't know how, so Sal patiently tries to teach him, laughing when Zayn nearly tumbles over. Annoyed at being mocked, Zayn declares he may not be able to dance, but he can headbutt, and promptly knocks his head against Sal's before running away. Sal catches him apologizing, but Zayn says it's too late. With a wicked grin, Sal suggests he could offer his body as an apology. Zayn, flustered, wants only to be let go, and in a moment of desperate inspiration, he headbutts Sal again, this time knocking him unconscious. This, he thinks, is fair compensation for being deceived. Just then, Samuel appears, urging him to run. He points Zayn towards the Sola forest, claiming it's a safe path. As Zayn thanks him and disappears into the woods, Samuel's kind expression melts into a cold mask, thinking Zayn should blame Sal for his fate. When Sal awakens, his men report the terrible truth. Zayn fled west into the dark forest, a place no one escapes alive, as his advisors urge him to abandon the outsider. Sal's fists clench in silent fury. Meanwhile, Zayn stumbles through a terrifying, misty landscape, realizing with dawning horror that Samuel has betrayed him. Lost in the oppressive darkness of the forest, Zayn panics, unable to see a thing or find his way forward. He takes a tentative step, only for the cruel snap of metal to echo through the trees as a bear trap clamps down hard on his leg. He cries out in agony, collapsing to the ground and clutching the bloody wound, wondering why such a vicious device would be hidden in this desolate place. A rustle in the bushes makes him freeze, and a voice slithers out of the gloom as a man named Oliver appears, asking with a sickening smile if his little demon has missed him. Terror floods Zayn's veins as he recognizes his tormentor, desperately trying to back away while demanding to know what Oliver is doing here. But there's no escape. Oliver grabs him in an iron grip, whispering that it was the cute little Samuel who led Zayn straight into this trap. The horrifying truth crashes down on Zayn. He was betrayed, this entire ordeal a conspiracy. Oliver leans in close, telling Zayn to be a good boy and serve him, promising to treat him far better than Sal ever could. With his heart pounding, Zayn feigns submission, tearfully asking his captor to be gentle, a desperate ploy for time. But as he tries to smash a rock against Oliver's head, his flimsy attack is caught with ease. Oliver laughs, mocking his futile struggles and telling him such little tricks only work on an idiot like Sal, promising to show the little liar what he truly tastes like. Zayn struggles violently, screaming for the beast to let him go, a cold despair washing over him as he realizes Sal won't be coming to save him this time. But just as hope seems lost, an arrow whistles through the air and embeds itself in Oliver's arm, forcing a pained scream from his lips. A new figure emerges from the shadows, a red-haired man named Batty, who declares that the Omega is his prey and warns Oliver not to interfere with his bounty. Oliver seethes with rage, insisting he caught Zayn first, but Batty isn't listening, moving with terrifying speed to sever Oliver's arm in a single brutal slash. As Oliver flees screaming threats, Batty turns his predatory gaze on Zayn, who is now his primary target. The chase ends not in the forest, but in a lavish bedroom where a shadowy figure tells Zayn he shouldn't have run away. Confused and disoriented, Zayn feels a hand on him and murmurs for Sal to stop playing around, only for his eyes to snap open in pure shock as he recognizes the man looming over him, his brother Riester. Riester's voice is cold as he demands to know why it can't be him, grabbing Zayn and accusing him of relying on his marked partner to survive. He promises to forcibly override the mark, sneering that Zayn will belong only to him. Zayn desperately pleads with him, warning that the process could drive him insane or even kill him, but Riester is unmoved, claiming that even a mad Zayn will still obey him. As a last resort, Zayn spits out that his partner is Sal, leader of the Thorny Wolf tribe, and that harming him will start a war. For a moment, he hates that he has to use Sal's name for protection, but his defiance only amuses Riester, who vows to break his legs and lock him away forever. Just as Riester leans in, a knock interrupts them. It's Drake, informing them that Chief Afur has summoned them both, specifically naming Zayn as a sinner. Riester is furious, wondering how the chief knew, and warns Drake not to lie. Dragged before the imposing Chief Afur, Riester shamelessly declares that Zayn is his partner and offers to atone for his crimes. But Zayn finds his voice, furiously denying everything, screaming that he is not Riester's partner and is innocent. He falls to his knees, pleading his case, but Afur is dismissive, asking why he ran if he was innocent and telling him to thank Riester's affection for his life. Zayn rejects the notion with disgust, shouting that he will never be Riester's partner. The tense standoff is broken by the arrival of another chief. Sal, leader of the Tizimi Wolves, has come for his partner. Riester tries to block the way, but Sal simply orders him to let Zayn go, unleashing a wave of power that forces Riester to his knees in agony. Sal calmly walks to Zayn's side, taking his hand and whispering for him not to be afraid. Afur challenges Sal, questioning his right to take a wanted criminal, but Sal simply states that Zayn was framed. The next morning, a playful Zayn draws on a sleeping Sal's face, only to be caught later at the dining table. That night, Sal declares it's time to sell the score, leaning in for a kiss. Later, Sal presents Chief Afur with a box containing the severed head of Batty, the true murderer. Riester and Afur stare in horror as Sal explains that Batty confessed everything, demanding Zayn's warrant be revoked. Faced with a thinly veiled threat from Sal, Afur relents, allowing them to leave. As they go, Sal gives Riester a chilling smile, mentioning that Batty said something interesting before he died, leaving Riester to spiral into paranoia, convinced Sal knows everything and will use it against him. By a quiet waterfall, Sal asks Zayn if he's still angry about everything, but Zayn turns the question back on him, pointing out his own hypocrisy about not wanting people to run away. He explains his actions, but Sal cuts him off, taking his hand and asking with unnerving intensity if, in all his frantic thoughts of escape, he ever considered that he might be missed. Zayn is stunned into silence before vehemently denying he ever would be. Zayn's world blurs back into focus as he finds himself held securely in Sal's arms, the man's voice a low murmur promising a wedding when they return. Sal declares the Tizimi Wolf tribe is now his home, a place free of worries, but Zayn's mind races with turmoil. This offer of a new home feels hollow while his father is still missing, and he can't shake the suspicion about whether Sal's affection is truly genuine. A few days later, a sinister plot takes root as Oliver is approached by a shadowy figure who proposes an alliance, claiming the enemy of their enemy is a friend. He offers Oliver a potion, a simple tool to eliminate Sal and seize control of the entire Tizimi wolf tribe. Oliver's skepticism is met with a taunt about his courage, a challenge he can't refuse, and he accepts the vial with a vicious smile, vowing to leave no trace of Sal's body. The schemer smirks, thinking how easily the fool was manipulated. Back at the Grand Estate, Zayn finds himself being fitted for yet another lavish outfit, protesting that he has more than enough clothes. Sal, ever possessive, pulls him close and dismisses his concerns, casually suggesting they make several more sets since they are already preparing for the wedding. Flustered, Zayn tries to call the whole thing off, insisting it's the wrong time with his father's fate unknown, but Sal utterly ignores him, instead critiquing the tailor's work. He dictates changes to the fit, his hands roaming over Zayn's body to check the sleeves and then the fabric of his pants, making Zayn internally scream with frustration. The unwanted touch is too much, and despite his best efforts to remain composed, his wolf ears and fluffy tail burst forth in a humiliating display of his true feelings. Sal just chuckles, amused that a simple touch to his clothes could provoke such a reaction, which only serves to mortify Zayn further. In a desperate attempt to silence him, Zayn lunges, clamping a hand over Sal's mouth, only to be met with muffled complaints about not being able to breathe before he dives under a blanket in shame. Their chaotic moment is interrupted by the arrival of Elder Logan, who enters with grim news. He reports hearing that Sal was searching for John, the leader of the Gangrel Wolf clan, and Zayn's hope ignites as he asks for news of his father. Logan is stunned into silence, realizing who Zayn is before demanding to know how Sal learned of the classified mission. He drops to his knees, pleading with Sal to abandon his plan to marry the son of a wanted criminal. Logan frantically explains that John is a fugitive sought by the Lesson clan, and marrying Zayn would mean war. Peeking from behind Sal, Zayn protests that his father was framed, a claim Sal immediately backs up with cold fury. He reveals he's already uncovered the truth, grabbing Logan and roaring at him for daring to question the mate chosen by the gods. The elder begs him not to be swayed by beauty, but Sal is resolute, icily warning Logan that while elders are replaceable, his mate will only ever be Zayn. Zayn is overcome with emotion, touched by Sal's unwavering defense of him. Logan, however, is convinced Sal has been bewitched and resolves to find a way to break the spell. To lift his spirits, Sal takes Zayn to a bustling marketplace, promising to protect him from Logan's words. Zayn agrees they shouldn't marry while his father's situation is unresolved, but Sal distracts him, pulling him towards the stalls with the promise of a surprise. He points excitedly to a lucky magic box game, his mood instantly brightened by the festive atmosphere. A cloaked vendor hawks his game, guide a ball through a maze to win a dwarven greatsword. Zayn remembers being called a jinx after losing as a child, but Sal scoffs at the notion and insists they try. Tossing coins at the vendor, Sal tells him to be quiet as Zayn nervously starts the game. Just as the ball nears the grand prize, it swerves away, and the vendor accuses him of cheating with a magic necklace. Before Zayn can react, Sal's eyes flash with power, and he wordlessly forces the ball directly into the winning slot. Zayn erupts in celebration, completely oblivious to the cheating, and gleefully accepts the greatsword prize. The vendor also presents a lucky star gift, which Sal takes for himself. As Sal opens the small box, Zayn's joyous expression freezes into one of pure shock. Inside is a lock of his father's white wolf fur. He breathlessly asks if Sal arranged this if he's finally found his father. Sal confirms it, explaining the vendor is an informant who revealed his father is hiding with a former ally nearby. Overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, Zayn thanks him profusely, but Sal leans in, whispering that he expects a more substantial reward. Zayn flusters, promising to discuss the wedding after he sees his father, but Sal playfully reminds him he was just trying to cancel it. He smirks, declaring the benefits have been paid and now it's time to go. Grabbing Zayn's hand, he leads him away from the market. As they walk, Sal recounts the tragic history of the Gangrel clan, a once powerful group destroyed a century ago after being accused of colluding with humans. The story chills Zayn to the bone, making him wonder about his own connection to his clan's downfall. They finally arrive at a secluded house, the home of Philip, his father's loyal former secretary. Heart hammering in his chest, Zayn pushes open the unlocked door, only to be met with a scene of carnage. Philip lies dead on the floor in a pool of his own blood. The last clue to his father is gone, and despair washes over Zayn. Sal tries to reassure him, noting the lack of a struggle suggests his father escaped unharmed. But Elder Logan, now on the scene, declares that only John could have delivered such a clean, fatal blow. Zayn furiously denies it, but Logan dismisses Philip as a mere dog and John as a murderer, once again demanding Sal break the engagement. At his breaking point, Sal silences him with a threat. He wants only Zayn, and anyone who disapproves can leave the clan. But Logan, supported by Oliver, insists on placing magical shackles on Zayn for the leader's protection. To Zayn's horror, Sal agrees, gently fastening the cuffs to his wrists while whispering a solemn promise to clear his father's name soon. That night, Zayn struggles with the chains, his thoughts spiraling into darkness about his father until he trips and crashes to the floor. Sal rushes in to find him in a tangled mess and offers to help him bathe. In the water, Zayn is a bundle of nerves, his embarrassment growing in the silence until Sal begins to tease him about not being clean enough. Mortified, Zayn flees the bathroom, only to run straight into a smirking Oliver, who mockingly asks how he plans to help him now. A peaceful morning for Zayn is shattered when a guard bursts in with terrible news, ripping Sal from his side. A conflict has erupted at the border with the Lursen Wolf clan, leaving casualties on both sides. Panic grips Sal, who demands to know the cause, but the messenger can only urge him to head to the border immediately to resolve the escalating situation. Despite his worry, Sal knows he must go, promising Zayn he'll leave Samuel to guard him and return as soon as possible. As Sal departs, Zayn is left with a terrible premonition, wondering who could possibly be stirring up trouble between the two clans. At the canyon border, Sal is met with a grim sight. His guards lie wounded and dying. The border captain, Julian, apologizes for their failure, explaining that the Lursen Wolf clan provoked them, demanding to search their territory for a supposed fugitive. When they refused, a brutal fight broke out. Sal's face darkens with suspicion. This is far too disrespectful for a simple search request, something Chief Afri could have handled with official documents. His men beg him to stand up for them, furious that the peace agreement was broken. As Sal inspects the fallen, his blood runs cold. One of the bodies shows horrifying signs: green eyes, green blood, and elongated metallic nails. This isn't a simple battle. This is mutation, a forbidden art he recognizes from the horrific test subjects of the X-Roman 2 lab, a project he thought died with his father. A horrifying thought strikes him. What if his father's killer has returned, and what if this is somehow connected to Zayn? Realizing the gravity of the situation, he orders an immediate retreat to the Wolf Fortress. But it's already too late. This was all a trap. A cloaked figure grins wickedly, lighting a fuse, his mind flashing back to the deal he made with the cunning Lord Reist, who provided a potion to incite conflict and eliminate Sal. The fuse burns, and Sal realizes with horror that they've been ambushed. Back at the fortress, Zayn waits anxiously, his fears growing with every passing moment. Suddenly, the sky erupts with the leader's distress signal, and his heart plummets. Realizing Sal is in grave danger, he declares he will take the guards to assist. But as he tries to leave, a wave of guilt washes over him, wondering if this attack is somehow his fault. A thought planted by the traitorous other Zayn, who was instructed to simply play dumb while his greatest enemy, Sal, was eliminated. Bolstered by a false sense of duty, Zayn steels his resolve to save Sal. He rushes out, only to be blocked by Oliver and his men. Oliver mocks him, sneering about his haste to meet a lover. Zayn desperately tries to push past, screaming that he has to save Sal, but Oliver laughs in his face. In a surge of fury, Zayn draws a hidden dagger, but the enchanted shackles on his wrists activate, painfully shocking him and making it impossible to attack a member of the Tizimi Wolf clan. Oliver kicks him to the ground, revealing his entire plan was to frame him as a spy who seduced the chief and leaked their secrets. He accuses Sal of being a foolish leader blinded by lust, claiming Zayn is collaborating with the enemy to lead their troops into a trap. Zayn screams that it's all lies, but the brainwashed werewolves don't listen, pledging their loyalty to their new leader, Lord Oliver. Zayn stares in horror at their glowing green eyes, realizing they've all been manipulated. The coup is complete. Oliver sits on the throne, having waited for this moment his entire life, and his first act as chief is to order Zayn's execution. Zayn vehemently denies the accusations, shouting that Oliver is the real traitor, the one who used potions on his own men. Oliver smirks, admitting he merely enhanced their combat abilities and promises to give the drug to the entire clan. He brands Zayn insane and orders his death. Cornered and helpless, Zayn feels a surge of despair, knowing Sal is still waiting for him. As the executioner's blade swings down, Zayn closes his eyes, apologizing to Sal for failing him. But the final blow never lands. A crossbow bolt strikes the guard down, saving Zayn at the last second. A mysterious hooded figure appears, calmly telling Oliver to release Zayn or the next bolt will go through his head. The figure whisks Zayn away, leaving Oliver fuming. The rescuer reveals that the captured Lursen wolves have confessed everything. It was Oliver who guided them through a secret path known only to their tribe. Oliver's treachery is exposed as he realizes he's been played. The mysterious rescuer tells Zayn to hide while he takes care of the guards, but Zayn notices something is off about this supposed ally. Suddenly, another figure, the other Zayn, appears, urging the protagonist to follow him to safety. He leads Zayn towards a secret room, explaining it's designed to protect tribe members. But as the door closes, it reveals not a sanctuary, but a horrifying pit of bones. The other Zayn shoves him forward, snarling for him to go to hell. With adrenaline coursing through him, Zayn grabs a hidden dagger and whirls around, accusing the traitor of deliberately luring him into a trap. The other Zayn's face twists into a mask of pure hatred, screaming that he is the one who deserves to be by Sal's side, and if he can't have him, no one can. He lunges, but just as his claws are about to find their mark, a powerful kick sends him flying. Sal has returned. The defeated traitor can only lie on the ground and gloat that he was the one who killed Sal, a final, desperate lie. Sal, ignoring the madman, flicks Zayn on the head, scolding him for using himself as bait. Zayn insists he had a silver dagger and was fine, just relieved that Sal is safe. Sal explains he must stay to help the injured tribesman, vowing to make Oliver pay for what he's done. He confronts the captured Oliver, demanding to know where he got the mutation medicine. Oliver sneers, refusing to talk and declaring that since his plans were ruined, he'll destroy what Sal treasures most. He throws down a smoke bomb, screaming for them to go to hell. Sal reacts instantly, creating an ice barrier to shield Zayn from the blast. When the smoke clears, Oliver has vanished. Sal orders Julian to take his men and chase the traitor through the secret passage. He then turns to Zayn, telling him he has an important gift for him, as a shadowy figure approaches from the dissipating smoke. A figure Zayn recognizes with a gasp of shock, his father. Zayn collapses into his father's arms, tears streaming down his face as Sal watches from a distance. John holds him tight, asking where he's been and if he's all right, his voice a soothing balm on Zayn's frayed nerves. He gently tells his son to stop crying, but Zayn, flushed with embarrassment, mutters something about bringing back an alpha, a comment that makes no sense and only deepens his blush. John then introduces a new face, Hismore, the son of Gangrel's previous leader, explaining the young man was instrumental in his escape. A flicker of irritation crosses Zayn's face. Why would his father rely on an outsider instead of him? Brushing it aside, he asks about a man named Hutton, only for John to reveal Hutton had been ordered to hunt him down, a confession that leaves Zayn reeling in confusion. John dismisses his questions, saying it's a long story before dropping the true bombshell. He's leaving the Leshan Wolf clan to rebuild Gangrel. Zayn's heart soars with joy. He knew his father would never abandon their home. His father then asks him to join him, leading him to a balcony to lay out the grand, dangerous plan. They will forge a new territory in the treacherous Hurg Valley, a place of toxic swamps, to regain their strength far from the eyes of their enemy Afur. John grabs Zayn's arm, his gaze intense, stressing that with their numbers so few, he needs his son's help. But Zayn's mind races with a new conflict. Joining Gangrel would mean annulling his engagement to Sal to maintain political independence. Seeing his son's hesitation, John softens, reassuring him that his happiness is all that matters and he doesn't have to come. Touched by his father's love, Zayn steels his resolve, vowing that he will not abandon Gangrel no matter the cost. As he watches his father walk away with Hiss, a profound sense of purpose fills him. He finally has a chance to be by his father's side and he will not waste it. Later, Hiss sidles up to him, explaining how Uncle John rescued him from an ambush before cheekily calling him father-in-law. A flustered Zayn shoves him away, protesting that his father hasn't agreed to any marriage. Hiss merely smirks, already plotting how to win over his future family. Months later, a grand banquet is held to celebrate Gangrel's return. Wine flows and spirits are high as they toast to a new future. While Zayn wonders about the delayed dessert, Deputy Chief Dawson jests that Zayn looks like a perfect wife for the future chief, a comment that sets the room abuzz with talk of an alliance through marriage. But John laughs, redirecting their praise to another, declaring that Heath is more capable than he ever was and is Gangrel's true successor. Heath rises, promising not to fail him as the hall erupts in cheers. For Zayn, the words are a physical blow. He feels like an outsider, a mere political pawn, while Heath is hailed as the savior who can protect his father in ways he never could. A storm of jealousy and despair brews within him until he can't take it anymore, rising from his chair to call out Heath's name. He challenges Heath to a traditional archery competition, desperate to prove to his father that he is his true son. Though John tries to intervene, Heath calmly accepts the challenge. While Hiss panics about his ruined plans to gift weapons, he whispers encouragement that Zayn is better. The competition begins, and Heath is flawless, sinking 3 arrows into the bullseye with terrifying power. He turns to Zayn with a smug grin, telling him to try harder or he'll lose. Fueled by a desperate fire, Zayn matches his feet, hitting the bullseye twice. He turns to his father, his eyes pleading for recognition before demanding a heavier bow, determined to pierce the target itself. Sal tries to warn him he'll get hurt, but Zayn is beyond reason, consumed by the memory of being hunted like a dog and the burning need to be strong like Heath's. He grabs the heavy bow, vowing to surpass his rival, but as he draws the string, he realizes the arrowheads are different. Heath calls him out for cheating, loudly quitting the competition and telling him to put the bow down before storming off. Zayn is left alone, shame washing over him as the truth crashes down. Heath had known about the rigged arrows and had deliberately picked the stronger one so Zayn wouldn't be humiliated. He had been letting him win. Crushed, Zayn slumps down, admitting to himself that he can't match Heath in skill or in character. Heath quietly sits beside him, offering small comfort, but then he reveals a shocking secret. He touches the back of his neck, showing Zayn that he has no pheromone glands. They were brutally removed years ago, and he only survived thanks to Uncle John. Heath's story unfolds, a dark memory of being captured by his father Jack, a madman obsessed with cruel experiments. After his own father's death, Heath was taken, tortured, and injected with unknown drugs. He was kept in a cage like an animal until John rescued him from that living hell. From that day forward, he swore loyalty to John, vowing to help him achieve his dreams, and he coldly admits to Zayn that he is indeed here to take his father from him. Zayn is horrified, begging him to stop as he's consumed by guilt over his petty jealousy. Heath simply laughs it off, claiming that life is easier without a gland, free from the distractions of desire that had always plagued Zayn. He is not bound by pheromones or fate, even the moon god has abandoned him. His future, he declares with a chilling smile, will be with a partner he chooses with his own heart, and his alone. Heath's words echo in Zayn's mind, questioning the very foundation of his feelings for Sal. Was it true love or merely the product of estrus and the moon god's design? He tries to convince himself that he chose Sal willingly, that if it had been Reister, he would have never agreed no matter what. Heath offers a gentle smile, telling him that as long as he's happy, that's all that matters, and it puts him at ease. Touched by his kindness, Zayn thanks Heath for his care over the years and playfully suggests they share his dad. But their tender moment is shattered by a furious voice. Sal appears from the shadows, his eyes burning with rage as he demands to know what they're doing. Heath calmly steps in front of Zayn, reminding Sal that basic etiquette dictates keeping a respectful distance from another's omega. With a cold smile, he points out that Sal's aggression has hurt Zayn, a fact that makes Sal flinch. He immediately apologizes to Zayn, claiming he got too emotional, but his gaze darkens as he insists Heath was deliberately provoking him. Zayn leaps to Heath's defense, arguing that Sal was hostile from the start, sparking a heated argument between them. Enraged, Sal grabs Zayn, declaring that he is his and he won't allow another alpha's scent to linger on him. He acts like a beast, marking his territory, leaving Zayn reeling as he whispers a plea not to be treated like an animal. Sal confesses that when it comes to Zayn, he has no intention of being rational, throwing Zayn back into a spiral of doubt about what true feelings really are. Later, at dinner, Zayn's father is ecstatic, revealing that Sal has provided a massive amount of weapons and armor to aid their cause. He tells Zayn not to worry about him and to go pursue his own happiness, finally giving his blessing for their marriage. Sal is overjoyed, immediately thanking his new father-in-law and promising Zayn the most unforgettable proposal ever. And unforgettable it is. With a snap of his fingers, Sal summons a troupe of shirtless men who perform a bizarre, synchronized dance routine. After the strange performance concludes, Sal kneels before a stunned Zayn, asking him to marry him. But instead of a ring, he proudly presents a large, perfectly round stone from the forest, declaring it a symbol of their rock-solid love. The entire room erupts in laughter, with Heath barely able to contain himself. Mortified, Zayn glares at him, but Heath only smirks, mocking Sal for proposing with a rock and accusing him of publicly pressuring Zayn to say yes. This accusation hits a nerve, and Zayn hesitates, his mind suddenly clouded with doubt about whether he truly wants to marry Sal at all. Seeing his hesitation, Sal's hopeful expression crumbles and he quietly asks if Zayn is unwilling. Panicked, Zayn quickly makes an excuse, suggesting they postpone the wedding to focus on rebuilding Gangrel. Sal's relief is palpable as he pulls Zayn into a fierce embrace, convinced he won't be abandoned. He proclaims that they are bound by fate, an eternal vow that even death can't break. In a haze of passion, Sal marks him, his voice thick with possessiveness as he vows to fill Zayn's entire body with his pheromones. A clear message for Heath to smell. Zayn insists Heath wouldn't care, but Sal is lost in his jealousy. Later, Zayn tries to soothe him, confessing that he only likes Sal and no one else. This is all the encouragement Sal needs, immediately asking for another round, much to Zayn's exhaustion. With tensions eased for now, they turn to the clan's future, but the accounting ledgers are a complete mess. Heath suggests Zayn, with his sharp mind, should be the one to sort them out. Zayn is reluctant, feeling it's not his place as an outsider. But Heath's encouragement and Zayn's own desire to help win out, He finds it ironic that Heath, having had his glands removed, seems to be the only one who truly cares about an Omega's feelings. While they work, Zayn notices suspicious and frequent purchases of herbs under someone named Mira's account and suggests they investigate. But just as they lean closer to examine the document, Sal walks in. His face instantly darkens with suspicion, demanding to know what's happening. He pulls Zayn away from Heath, his voice dripping with venom as he asks if they need to be so close just to look at accounts, sneeringly questioning if Heath's parents ever taught him common sense. Heath's expression remains unnervingly calm as he reveals his parents died long ago and that with his glands removed, he can't understand an alpha's feelings. Sal is momentarily speechless, but Heath presses his advantage, smoothly telling Zayn not to blame the impulsive leader. Sal's rage reignites as he sees through the manipulation, accusing Heath of instigation. Zayn tries to defend him, saying Sal is just a bit impulsive and never tried to control him. But the damage is done. Heath smirks victoriously, declaring that Zayn is his. A blatant challenge that sends Sal over the edge, launching a fist straight at his face. Zayn screams as the punch connects. He rushes to Heath's side while others scold the two for their embarrassing display. Zayn furiously tells Sal to stop, but Sal grabs him, determined to drag him away from his rival. He announces he's taking Zayn back to Uncle John, but Zayn demands to know why he's targeting Heath. With a roar of pure possession, Sal shouts that it's because Heath covets him, and anyone who lays a hand on what's his must face his wrath. He grabs Zayn, his eyes wild, declaring he won't let anyone steal his attention. Not Heath, not even Zayn's own father, because Zayn belongs only to him. Zayn shoves him back, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger, calling Sal completely insane. He tells Sal this twisted possessiveness isn't love, it's just the effect of pheromones. Heartbroken and furious, Zayn announces he's going back to Gangrel with his father, declaring they need time apart to cool down. Sal's world shatters, he grabs Zayn's arm, refusing to let him go. Zayn looks at him with cold disappointment, asking if he plans to imprison him just like Reister, and suggests that perhaps they should never have met at all. Zayn desperately tries to push Sal away, his mind made up. But Sal grabs him, his voice laced with desperation, asking if this is because of Heath, offering to change himself to be more like his rival. Zayn looks away, his resolve firm, stating it has nothing to do with Heath. For the sake of his father and Gangelo, he must leave. He turns and runs, leaving Sal to cry out his name in the empty hallway. For a moment, Zayn hesitates, his heart aching at Sal's pleas, but the thought of his waiting father propels him forward. Elsewhere, Heath scouts a new territory for Gangelo, a flat terrain near a water source. He worries it's too close to the Thorn secret wolf clan, fearing Sal might lure Zayn away again, but as he takes a drink, the ground gives way beneath him. He tumbles down a hidden staircase, a strange and unsettling familiarity washing over him. At the bottom, he finds a door and pushes it open, only for his blood to run cold. It's the laboratory from his nightmares. Traumatic memories flood his mind, being tortured by scientists, choked by an unseen hand, a snarling wolf, and the horror of it all sends him crashing to the floor, his book scattering across the grated metal. Shaking, he picks up a journal and reads a horrifying entry about an alpha kid, captured on July 10th, detailing the removal of his glands and questioning if the child would even survive. Rage consumes him as he flips the pages, his eyes landing on a name, Samri. He knows that name, it was Sal's father, the previous leader of the Wolf clan. The devastating truth finally clicks into place. It was Samri who killed his father, abducted him, and performed these monstrous experiments. His desire for revenge burns hotter than ever, but he won't be denied his justice simply because the man is already dead. With a sinister smile, Heath decides the father's debts will be paid by the son, and he knows just the person who needs to see this place. Back at the estate, Sal furiously confronts Heath, who is overseeing the removal of Zayn's belongings. Heath smirks, coolly informing Sal that Zayn himself ordered the move, as he's returning to Gangelo. When Sal's guards step forward, Heath waves them off, suggesting a private conversation. He leads Sal away, giving his men a subtle wink, a silent command to go find Zayn. In the quiet of the woods, Heath challenges Sal to a duel, the prize being Zayn's freedom. Heath unleashes a blast of energy, but his mind is elsewhere. His plan is simply to stall until Zayn arrives so he can lead him to the hidden lab. Sal easily overpowers the distracted Heath, pinning him down and demanding to know why he isn't focused. Heath just laughs, declaring that he has already won the battle. While they fight, Zayn runs frantically through the forest, calling their names, worried that their rivalry will get them hurt. Suddenly, he's ambushed by Oliver, who has been waiting for this exact moment. Oliver overpowers him, tying him up and sneering that Sal will have no choice but to surrender now. He drags Zayn not towards the fort, but deep into the treacherous dark forest, a place crawling with magical beasts. There he reveals his twisted plan. Zayn will lure Sal to his death. To ensure the beasts are drawn in, Oliver stabs Zayn, letting his blood scent the air, then gloats that he'll simply watch from a safe distance as Sal is torn apart. Back at the duel, Sal has Heath by the throat when a signal flare explodes in the night sky. Recognizing it as Zayn's, Sal's rage turns to panic and he releases Heath to rush to Zayn's side, but Heath blocks his path, refusing to let him be the hero. Meanwhile, Zayn, tied to a tree and bleeding out, feels despair creeping in, wondering if he is destined to be a weak Omega waiting for rescue. As glowing red eyes emerge from the darkness, a winged beast lunges. But at the last second, something awakens within Zayn. His eyes flash a venomous green, and with a surge of raw power, he shatters his bonds. Sal and Heath arrive at the edge of the dark forest, both screaming Zayn's name in terror. Sal is consumed with guilt, realizing his jealousy has led to this disaster. Heath watches him, coldly thinking that his regret has come far too late, vowing that Zayn will never be his. They find Oliver crawling on the ground, whimpering in fear. Sal grabs him, demanding to know where Zayn is. Oliver shrieks that Zayn is a monster, stronger than any beast, an Omega with claws like steel and the ferocity of an alpha. As Sal processes the shocking revelation that Zayn has awakened, a clawed hand clamps over Oliver's mouth, and a feral Zayn silences him forever. Sal lunges forward as Zayn attacks another beast, shouting his name. He catches Zayn as he collapses, bloodied and unconscious, and promises to get him help. But Heath steps in their way, his expression grim. He orders Sal to get lost, claiming that only he knows where to find the medicine that can save Zayn's life. Sal carries the limp body of Zayn through the night, a heavy silence hanging between them as they arrive at a place of haunting familiarity. Zayn's eyes flutter open, recognizing the cold, sterile architecture with a jolt of terror. It's his father's laboratory. Sal confirms his fears, asking if he remembers this place. The weight of the betrayal crushes Zayn as he demands to know why he was brought back to this hellscape, questioning if everyone knew about it. John coolly explains that this is where the X-Roman 2 pharmaceutical was developed, the same one that mutated Oliver, but reveals a twisted irony. It's also the only medicine that can help Zayn. The revelation that his uncle John is aware of everything sends a chill down Sal's spine. With a muttered apology, John presses a syringe to Zayn's neck, explaining that only this monstrous drug can control his mutation and enhance his recovery. A jolt of energy courses through Zayn's body as the fluid enters his veins, his eyes flying open in shock and pain. He begs to be let go, his pleas echoing in the cold room. But his cries are met with a sinister grin from a hooded figure in his memory, his father, who mockingly asks why he would let go of his precious Omega test subject. The memory intensifies, his father's voice booming with ambition, revealing his plan to turn even Omegas into strong warriors to unify the werewolf tribes under the Thorn's secret wolf clan. Back in the present, Zayn feels an unbearable cold spreading through him, his body convulsing as the drug takes hold. The hooded figure of his father haunts his mind's eye, mixing chemicals with a mad glint in his eyes, pouring Zayn's own blood into a concoction. The man wonders aloud why Zayn's blood always has such a magical reaction, unlike the other failed test subjects. Suddenly, an immense power surges through Zayn, his body radiating a purple aura as he breaks free from his restraints, lunging at the memory of his tormentor with a furious roar. The vision shatters, and Sal's voice cuts through the haze, desperately telling Zayn to control himself and not fall into madness. Zayn finally awakens, his eyes finding Sal's, a flicker of hope in Sal's expression as he sees him conscious. But that hope is short-lived. Zayn's first word is a weak, haunted whisper, "Father." He recoils in horror, realizing he's back in the laboratory, the place of his nightmares. Sal tries to reassure him, promising that no one will harm him, but his words are cut short by Heath, who declares that's not necessarily true. Heath holds out a file, telling Zayn to look at it. Sal desperately orders him not to, but Heath insists that Sal has no right to keep the truth from him. As Zayn reads, his face pales, the horrifying truth dawning on him. He was captured and experimented on in this very lab. Heath adds that there's more, pointing out a specific entry, the father's last experiment subject, number 17. Zayn's eyes widen as he recognizes the handwriting. It belongs to Sal. The world spins as Zayn confronts him, his voice trembling, asking if Sal approached him just to investigate his father's death. Sal can only answer with a quiet, devastating yes. His heart breaks, but he tries to explain that it was only at the beginning and that he has since fallen in love with him. Zayn cuts him off, stating he understands, but Sal frantically insists he doesn't, claiming he was just waiting for the right moment to confess. John interjects, admitting he was the one who injured Zayn's father, Samri, to save Zayn, but he didn't kill him and neither did Zayn. Sal pleads for another chance, but Zayn turns away, his voice filled with a pain that transcends words. He explains the agony of forced transformations, the feeling of his bones shattering, and the hatred he feels for losing his mind and covering his hands in blood, all thanks to Sal's father's medicine. He weeps, asking how he can forgive Sal for approaching him for revenge when Sal's family is the source of all his suffering. With a chilling finality, Zayn declares that he rejects the moon goddess's guidance and is no longer Sal Christopher's partner. Sal screams in protest, warning that Zayn's body can't handle the punishment for breaking their bond. As if on cue, the backlash hits Sal like a physical blow, blood spraying from his lips, while Heath coldly tells him it's Zayn's decision to make. Across the room, Zayn clutches his chest, excruciating pain radiating from the broken bond, and collapses to his knees. The magical force of the broken contract lashes out, striking both Heath and Sal before Zayn falls unconscious. John scoops up Zayn's limp form, his expression grim. He explains to a stunned Sal that due to his injuries and the backlash, Zayn can no longer maintain his werewolf form, and his true bloodline must remain a secret. Heath steps between them, telling Sal that if he has any alpha pride left, he should stop pestering Zayn. A surge of blue energy erupts from Sal as he transforms into his powerful wolf form, accusing Heath of scheming all along and deliberately luring him here for a duel. Heath pins him down, a sneer on his face, asking if Sal really thinks this is just about coveting Zayn. With raw fury, Heath reveals the shocking truth. He was also one of Sal's father's experiment subjects, locked in a dog cage in this very lab while his glands were forcibly removed. Sal reverts to his human form, stunned into silence, offering a pathetic apology. Heath explodes, asking what good sorry is when it can't bring back his father or his glands. He roars that while he was being trampled into the mud by other alphas, Sal was enjoying the fruits of his father's dark experiments as a naturally strong alpha. Sal desperately claims he didn't know that he would have saved him, but Heath scoffs at the notion, spitting that they didn't need his rescue. He tells Sal that his arrogant alpha love is what pushes Zayn away, and their relationship was doomed from the start. As Heath and John leave with Zayn, Sal is left alone, denying Heath's words, clinging to the belief that Zayn is just angry he lied. But a deeper part of him knows Heath is right. Zayn has been dissatisfied for a long time. Still, he vows to make Zayn come back to his side. Later, his subordinate Julian reports that John and the others have left, presenting a file on the investigation Sal ordered. Sal dismisses him, slumping in his chair, consumed by despair as he coughs violently, convinced that Zayn will never forgive him. He recalls his past, how he suspected Zayn was involved in his father's death and intended to use him as an obedient servant. He remembers testing his mind control, asking if Zayn killed Samri, only for Zayn to ask who Samri even was, claiming he'd never killed anyone. Sal had wondered if Zayn's memories were sealed, but now he's consumed by the fact that he used the one he loved to investigate his father's death. He sinks into despair, realizing it's what his father did that has ruined everything. He remembers his father's promise to make him the strongest werewolf, a promise built on inhumane experiments he was never told about. Opening Julian's report, Sal discovers the drug being used is a new, upgraded version of his father's potion. Elsewhere, Zayn's body is racked with pain, blood pooling beneath him. The antidote having no effect, Heath reveals that Zayn was injected with an upgraded drug, not the original formula. To save Zayn, they must find the formula for this new potion. Otherwise, Zayn will be controlled by it, falling into a blood-soaked madness until his death. A man offers to handle the investigation into the new drug, but Zayn, lying weakly, refuses with cold determination. He commands them to untie him, insisting he'll investigate himself. His ally protests, reminding him he's seriously injured with the drug still in his system. But Zayn pushes himself up, declaring he's no longer the fragile Omega he once was. The ally is stunned, realizing with a gasp that Zayn's pheromones are completely gone. Zayn calmly speculates that the drug has temporarily altered his very constitution. Clutching a small vial, he vows to find the truth before the effects of the old drug wear off, revealing his first clue. Oliver, the man who attacked Wolf Fort, had foreigners under his command. The connection dawns on his ally, the Lesson Wolf clan. Zayn confirms his plan to infiltrate their territory, dismissing his friend's concerns by stating he'll simply disguise himself and sneak in with a confident smile. His ally can only watch him go, musing that Zayn still can't forget the deceased Sal. Soon after, Zayn arrives at the Lesson Wolf clan's domain, finding it alive with their Moonlight Festival. Cloaked and masked, he sees the celebration as the perfect cover for his investigation, though he's unsure where to begin. Suddenly, a hand stops him, and a man with long, reddish-brown hair demands to see his face, sending a jolt of panic through Zayn. Zayn instinctively shoves him away, and the stranger apologizes, claiming he mistook him for someone else before walking off. As he leaves the stranger, Zayn is puzzled. The build looked right, but the scent was all wrong. He quickly refocuses on his own mission, to find the source of the new drug, a tepa stone that can only be found in the clan's holy land. Zayn approaches the restricted area but is immediately blocked by guards. They inform him that only fated partners can enter to pray to the moon goddess, leaving him to feign drunkenness as a clumsy excuse. Just as a guard grows suspicious of his unfamiliar face, another cloaked figure points directly at Zayn from across the way, loudly proclaiming that he's found his partner. Before Zayn can react, the figure, Sal, grabs him, whispering a promise of a handsome reward if he just plays along. Stunned, Zayn can only see the ghost of his lost love in the stranger's face. They are waved through by the guards, and Zayn quickly pulls Sal into the bustling crowd. He hisses that they must cooperate since the guards are still watching, but Sal demands he keep his distance. Amused, Zayn teases him, asking if he's never had a partner before. Sal's voice turns to ice as he replies that he did, but he's already dead. The chilling words distract Zayn long enough for a guard to spot them, shouting that the stranger is suspicious as an arrow flies through the air. Sal shoves Zayn to safety, taking the hit as his hood is knocked back, revealing his face. Stunned, Zayn cries out his name. With the guards closing in, he tells Zayn to run. But Zayn is lost in a memory, grabbing Sal's hand with desperate strength, thinking he's finally found Sal again and vowing never to let him go. They escape into the woods where Sal finally shakes him off. When Zayn demands to know what he wants, Sal hesitates, internally agonizing that if he reveals his true identity, Zayn will surely leave him. Instead, he simply thanks him for the save and explains he's a wanted criminal whose cover is now blown, suggesting they part ways for their own safety. But Zayn stops him, a new plan forming. He realizes Sal must also be after the X11 potion and asks him directly. The question ignites Sal's suspicion, and he grabs Zayn by the collar, demanding to know who he is and if Sal sent him. Realizing he must build trust, Zayn claims to be a mere wandering werewolf but offers to cooperate, promising he has clues about the potion. In Lister Castle, news arrives that Zayn has been spotted, and the cruel Lord Lister smiles, believing Zayn has finally returned to him. Back in the forest, Sal agrees to the partnership with a warning not to drag him down. Zayn explains that the potion's key ingredient, tepa stone, requires mithril to process, and their best bet is to find a source of the rare metal now that the Holy Land is too heavily guarded. Sal is impressed by his knowledge, and Zayn admits he knows it's suspicious, promising to reveal everything once they have the antidote. Just as they agree, pursuers find them, calling for Zayn to surrender under Lord Lister's orders. Seeing his chance, Zayn declares he'll walk right into the trap, knowing Lister is an avid mithril collector. Sal forbids it, but Zayn snaps back that he needs a partner, not a master, leaving Sal to wonder if he's been too controlling. Zayn gives him a rendezvous point and a 2-hour time limit before vanishing into the night. The plan works perfectly, and soon Zayn is bound in ropes before Lister. Lister taunts him about his missing pheromones, but Zayn coldly states he bound himself, having no desire to be Lister's property. Enraged, Lister accuses him of pretending, and Zayn challenges him to use mithril chains to prove it, a metal known to suppress werewolves. Lister eagerly agrees, producing a gleaming mithril chain and wrapping it around Zayn. He leans in close, mockingly asking if the tightening metal is uncomfortable. But Zayn's look of desperation transforms into one of pure power. Declaring he's no longer a weak Omega, he shatters the ropes and strikes Lister down. Now free, he realizes the mithril chain is a beacon to find the rest of Lister's collection, but finds he can't remove it. 2 hours later, a worried Sal sees Zayn emerge from the castle. Zayn waves him over, and they flee just as pursuers arrive. Finding a safe place, Sal sees the marks on Zayn's chest from the mithril and asks if Lister was responsible. A flustered Zayn insists it was part of the plan and tells him not to look. Sal ignores him, pulling out a vial and explaining the mithril will only get tighter. He applies a potion made from a mithril-eating beast, dissolving the chains. He apologizes for interfering, admitting he feels useless as an alpha partner who hasn't been much help. Zayn looks at him, baffled, questioning his alpha pride and why he's so resistant to letting Zayn take the lead. Zayn's fury finally boils over as he confronts Sal, roaring that he doesn't resist alphas playing hero. He resists being treated like a doll, overprotected, neglected, and deceived. Sal tries to explain that Zayn was never a tool or a plaything, but Zayn cuts him off, demanding he just help find the X11 potion. As Zayn turns away, Sal can only think about how the person Zayn is mad at was just trying to protect his lover, and that when protection becomes a cage, an alpha's love is deadlier than a knife. Zayn snaps at him to stop talking nonsense, but Sal has already found their target, noting that the mithril in his hand is pointing west toward a large deposit. As they move, Zayn quietly calls out his companion's name, Sal. The name startles Sal, who whips around demanding to know what Zayn called him. A moment of tense silence hangs between them before Zayn dismisses it and tells him to get moving. Sal follows, his mind in turmoil, thinking he must be crazy to search for Sal's shadow in a stranger. They arrive at a tall stone tower by the water, the source of the mithril signal and likely the laboratory they are looking for. Sal leans in close to explain the plan, but Zayn shoves him away, clearly agitated, a reaction that makes Sal think Zayn must truly hate him. The plan is simple. Sal will lure the guards away while Zayn sneaks in, but Sal refuses, arguing it's not fair for Zayn to take all the risks. Besides, he has his own reasons for entering the lab. With a smirk, Sal declares that he's a good swimmer, so he'll infiltrate through the water while Zayn creates the distraction, telling him to meet at the stone tower. He leaps into the water, leaving Zayn stunned as the guards are alerted to an intruder. While the chaos erupts outside, Zayn slips into the deserted laboratory, quickly locating the X11 potion he came for. He notes the smell is different from his clan's lab, deducing it must be a new drug. But just as he's about to secure it, a hand claps down on his shoulder. Zayn reacts instantly, spinning around and pressing a dagger to the intruder's throat, only to find himself face to face with Sal. Sal tells him not to be nervous, and Zayn wonders how he failed to notice his approach. Sal warns that the guards will be back soon, and while Zayn offers him an X11 potion, Sal refuses, stating he's looking for something else. His eyes scan the room and light up as he finds it, a hidden ledger. Just then, shouts echo from outside as the guards return with alarming speed. Sal realizes they must be special soldiers injected with recovery potions. With guards closing in on the last room, Sal pins Zayn against the wall and asks him one simple question, if he believes him. Without waiting for an answer, he smashes the window and plunges them both into the icy water below. The guards curse, realizing they've escaped. Underwater, Zayn struggles for air, his vision blurring as his lungs burn. Sal pulls him close, giving him air in a desperate kiss. As he does, a strange, familiar feeling washes over Zayn. The force of their movements underwater knocks Sal's mask loose, revealing his true face. Zayn's eyes widen in utter shock as he recognizes the man he's been traveling with. Their escape is short-lived, as the guards spot them surfacing and hurl daggers from the shore. They scramble onto land, but not before Sal takes a blade to the back to shield Zayn. Zayn panics, wanting to pull the sword out immediately. Sal stops him, warning it will only worsen the bleeding. Instead, he pushes the book he retrieved into Zayn's hands, telling him to look at it first. Zayn opens the ledger and is horrified to find Samri's experimental records, his own father's notes. He reads about a potion to unlock a werewolf's potential, a great invention that would change their evolution. But the notes take a dark turn, mentioning that animal experiments were not enough. Zayn's hands tremble as he reads the entry from November 22nd, where his father experimented on himself, followed by entries describing hazy thoughts and a growing resistance to the potion, forcing him to seek a different test subject. The horrible truth dawns on him, it was his father from start to finish. His mind flashes with memories of Sal protecting him, his hands stained with the blood of other werewolves, and he realizes the unimaginable sacrifice Sal has made. The weight of this revelation crushes Sal, who collapses, coughing up blood. He laments that his entire quest for revenge was a lie built on a misunderstanding. Zayn tries to comfort him, telling him not to blame himself, but Sal is broken, clinging to him and begging him not to leave, pleading that Zayn is all he has left. Just then, the piercing sound of a special summons horn echoes through the forest. The entire Leshan wolf clan has been placed under martial law. Zayn knows Lister is coming for him. Sal, weak but resolute, tells him to be quiet and prepares to get him out. They are spotted almost immediately. As a soldier lunges with a sword, Sal shoves Zayn out of the way, taking the blow himself. He tells Zayn not to worry about him, but Zayn asks what they'll do now that they're exposed. Sal grimaces, saying he owes Zayn his life again and that he would rather die for him, so that even if Zayn stops loving him, he'll never forget him. As he fades, Sal makes one last plea for Zayn to believe him. He confesses that while he initially sought Zayn out to investigate his father's case, he never used him because he truly fell in love. It wasn't a contract or alpha possessiveness, he just likes him. With his last words, he bids his only love goodbye and tells him to run. But Zayn grabs his hand, refusing to leave him behind, declaring that if they run together. As guards close in, ordering them to surrender, one lunges forward to grab the records. Sal, with his last ounce of strength, intercepts the soldier's arm and stabs the records, pinning them to a tree. Seeing this, Zayn has a sudden realization. He tells Sal that these men aren't listers, they're the leader's personal guards. They're also after the experimental records. Suddenly, Zayn snatches the book and demands to see it again. He flips through the pages, noticing entries about running out of funding and meeting with that person for inspiration and funds. The shocking truth hits him, Samri had a collaborator. Sal is stunned, saying he'd never seen his father with anyone. But Zayn connects the dots. realizing the only one who can command the leader's personal guard is leader Afril. As this new conspiracy unfolds, the strain becomes too much for Zayn. His old potions are running out and his mutation is becoming harder to suppress. He clutches his chest in agony, fearing he'll turn into one of the killing monsters. But Sal grabs him, pulling him into a fierce embrace and roaring that he will never let that happen. Renewed with purpose, Sal declares they will find Afril and get the truth. Panic consumes the halls as a guard bursts in with dire news. The forbidden laboratory has been breached again. The silver-haired woman, Afril, erupts in fury, demanding to know how their security could be so incompetent. The guard trembles, revealing the intruder is Sal of the Thorn Secret Wolf clan, a foe they are powerless to stop. A flicker of understanding crosses Afril's face. Sal must be here about Samri's matter. With casualties mounting, she makes a cold, calculated decision, ordering her personal guards to deploy not just to capture Sal but to crush his entire Leshan wolf clan. As her forces depart, a faint noise alerts the guards outside her door, who are swiftly and silently dispatched by a flash of white hair. The intruder, Zayn, lunges at Afril, but she catches his blade with a smirk, surprised to see him. The realization dawns on her like a thunderclap. This was all a diversion. She sees that he deliberately used Sal as bait to lure her guards away, accusing him of orchestrating the entire plot. Zayn pins her down, his voice laced with curiosity as he wonders how a mere Omega could possess such formidable skills. Unfazed, Afril presses a dagger to her own neck, her eyes glinting with madness as she reveals she drank the old, unstable version of the X11 potion and could kill him at any moment. Zayn simply tells her to hurry up if she values her life, and she complies, becoming his hostage. Dragging her along, Zayn thinks to himself that this should be enough to let that fool Sal escape. Later, Zayn tends to a shirtless and wounded Sal who can't stop making pained noises. A flustered Zayn threatens to make him bandage his own wounds, complaining that Sal was a reckless hero for insisting on being the bait while so injured. Sal just teases him, asking if he's angry again, which Zayn vehemently denies while playfully poking his chest. Sal's expression turns serious as he explains Zayn was always the better choice for the infiltration, being stronger, more agile, and more familiar with Afril's wolf fort. He then grins, admitting that getting injured was also the perfect excuse to have Zayn take care of him, pulling the blushing boy close. Their moment is shattered by Afril's sarcastic applause. She's tired of watching them be so lovey-dovey and correctly guesses they want to know about the X11 potion. Now they're captive, she's led to a remote location where Sal reveals a stunning truth. The lead researcher for the X11 formula was his own father, Samri, and Afril's name is nowhere in the official records. She dismisses this, but Sal presses on, accusing her of being the shadowy figure with ulterior motives who misled his father, providing the resources he lacked. Zayn's patience snaps. His claws extend as he grabs Afril, roaring that as a victim of her potion, his patience is thin. He demands to know her role, revealing that after his father's death, all the potions came from her Leshan wolf clan. Afril drops her facade, a cruel smile playing on her lips as she admits she was the instigator who gave Samri the inspiration for human experimentation. She callously argues it was for the greater good and that Samri was a willing participant, leaving Sal to grapple with the bitter truth of his father's guilt. But Afril has one last trick up her sleeve. She shatters a small vial on the ground, releasing a cloud of green gas. The two men begin to cough violently as the gas takes effect. Zayn's eyes glow a demonic red, the potion in his blood reacting to the inducing agent. He screams in unbearable agony, his body twisting and contorting as he loses control. Afril watches with amusement, hoping he'll finally become the mindless killing machine she always wanted. Sal desperately tries to restrain Zayn, begging him to stop, but the feral rage is too strong, and Sal is thrown aside. As Zayn lunges, Sal screams his unwavering belief that Zayn can fight it, that he won't become a monster. The plea seems to work, but not before Zayn sinks his teeth into Sal's shoulder. The shock and pain cause Zayn to recoil, coughing up blood as he regains his senses. Sal gently holds him, murmuring that it's all right, and Zayn whispers his name in recognition. Overwhelmed with horror at what he's done, Zayn demands to know why Sal didn't dodge the attack. Sal smiles softly, explaining that he believes in Zayn and knew he would never truly become a monster. A flustered Zayn calls him an idiot, but Sal just pulls him into a hug, promising no more risks and teasingly asking if Zayn will follow him for the rest of his life. The moment is broken when Zayn realizes Afril has vanished during the chaos. Sal tells him to forget her, they have more important business to attend to. A few days later, Afril has spun her own narrative, telling her clan that Zayn stole their treasure and declaring the Ganglu wolf clan their irreconcilable enemy. At the Ganglu clan's base, Zayn's men are in a panic, certain they are no match for their new enemies. But Zayn refuses to run, vowing to fight for their clan's honor. Sal intervenes, stating that what they truly need is manpower and he knows just where to find it, the rogue werewolf Dion. Though Zayn is doubtful, Sal is resolute, explaining that Dion's strength rivals that of clan leaders and he has a loyal following that could turn the tide of the war. As they travel, Sal becomes flustered when Zayn teases him about being jealous of Dion, sputtering that he just can't stand Zayn's bad taste in men. They soon arrive at the rogues' training ground, where the legendary Dion is making short work of his subordinates. Dion recognizes Zayn as the son of the former leader and asks his business. Zayn makes his offer, join them to fight the Leshen clan. Dion scoffs, reminding them rogues don't pick sides. Sal steps forward with a counteroffer, a bribery or a beating. Amused, Dion accepts the challenge, agreeing to join them if Sal can defeat him in a fight. Ignoring Zayn's protests about his injuries, Sal charges forward, but Dion effortlessly blocks his attack and lands a devastating blow to Sal's old wound, sending him staggering back in pain. As Dion mockingly assesses his fallen opponent and prepares for another strike, Zayn roars for him to stop.